I don't know how that works. And the only way they can ever, I mean, they just have to, like when you're doing fuel reports, like when I was at LV and stuff, they keep track of your mileage on your truck.
I suppose it just has to
I
be
just-
an
I have-
honesty thing.
I have calendar books that every time I try to use, I
Yeah,
write in the miles and stuff, the only way I can prove it, but I don't put on that many miles.
let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold and seconded by Derby to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Standards engineer will discuss secondary road matters.
So,
7511?
30.
7530.
11 is, Chris.
Hey Scott, we're ready for you. Just when I get done behind this gavel, I'll finally remember the numbers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Then you can sit at the end of the table going,
There we go.
I think it took me quite a while too before I got it all memorized. Had to get a new cylinder for my plow, the turn ones,
oh yeah?
and I was surprised for an old plow like that they actually had one on hand. Turns out it's got different fittings in the bottom, and I don't got anything like that. But $300 for a new cylinder like that. It's just,
I got a friend over in Westerville that works for Force America. Usually get things a lot cheaper through him.
was that right? I wonder if they can. Yeah, I went to Stellar Truck and Trailer. They're the closest Meyer plow dealer. I never thought about it. I should check to see what they're. Lewis out here.
Top Dead Center.
Yeah, I don't know if they can. Maybe they can have a similar cylinder. They got it from you.
Number 6, Matt Dubay is going to call in. He couldn't be here. Good morning.
Good morning.
We got to you kind of quick this morning.
What's that?
You said you're on the top of the list here.
Yeah, I guess I got moved up. Not much today. We got a little bit of ice across the northern half of the county, so a couple of the routes in motion, scratching at the ice and treating intersections.
The closer I got here, the better it got.
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding. I mean, it's kind of just all melting over this way.
I think North Iowa School District is no school today.
Oh, really? I could have swore I heard the buses backing out this morning.
Now they started to probably, and then they canceled.
Yeah. The first curve coming this way, when I took off going west towards Howard Julius, is there spinning out. And then by the time I got to the four-way stop there, the Four City Bancroft, and I could take off on that intersection just fine. So.
Yeah. Must be just enough temperature difference.
It's supposed to get colder this afternoon.
Yeah, it's supposed to get colder all day and supposed to stay windy and
Probably going to be a similar pattern to that one day when the break got most of
yeah,
the snow.
it's just weird.
A friend of mine called me this morning on my way here. He lives up by the cities, and up north of the cities. It sounds like they're going to get. There'll be snowmobiling going on up there. So.
Other than that, they're supposed to be starting crushing gravel today. I haven't checked in with them today. It's not very nice out there. That's what he told me yesterday. I'll have to check in with them and see if they get started today.
So did you have any, there's been a lot of manure being hauled and kind of drug up on some
Yeah.
roads. How do you deal with that?
Usually try and track down who's doing it and pester them. Try to get them to clean up after themselves. It's just kind of
Yeah,
a nuisance.
well, especially when you know it's not all mud. I mean,
Yeah, that definitely makes it worse. Yeah, I mean, we just if it's happening, we just got to get calls to Ethan so he can go, or one of us can go track them down and see if we can negotiate with them about their schedule or getting
yeah.
cleaned up
But
after
usually the
themselves.
damage is done by the time they get called, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
some cases it's just slobbered all over the road. It
There-
just needs cleaned up.
There are guys that know that it's gonna happen and they have a skid loader with them right there to scrape off the big chunks right away. There are a few that do it that way, and then some evidently just wait until they're contacted, I guess.
Yeah.
There almost should be, I mean, that you can, it's obvious where it came from,
Usually,
and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, whether we should, if you guys have to go out and clean it up, we should bill them for it.
Mhm.
And maybe that would bring an end to it where they would be a little more proactive and
yeah.
There was enough on the road that it was,
that could be
if you
dangerous.
hit it, yeah. I mean,
Especially
if
when
a
it
light
goes
car or vehicle hit some of that stuff, I don't think it'd be a good situation.
Especially when the trees get hard.
Yeah.
I know why they're doing it. You know, I understand the parameters of the business. You gotta get it spread. But,
Well, I like the idea that if they know that they're gonna make a mess, they have their own loader there of some sort to try to clean it up. But maybe you don't want them to be doing that to your roads.
Usually it's fine. It beats us having to bring something out there and then having to clean it up.
yeah, as long as they can tear the road up, which most of them are, most people that know how to run a skid loader know how to run it properly.
All right, do you have anything else for us, Scott? No? Can we have a tour of when they start crushing that gravel? I've never seen that done. No?
I'm technically supposed to be out there, but
Take a video of it.
yeah.
I've never seen
Why
that
is it
done.
top secret?
You got to be MSHA trained and certified to be around active crushing.
Oh, really?
Oh.
We aren't. Our staff isn't.
I was just gonna say, are any of you guys, yeah, it doesn't sound like something everybody has.
No. So you know, we try to keep our guys away and out of there when it's going on, and
I'm guessing there's a lot of possible projectiles and
yeah. So when we're out there, we just try to stick to our trucks and
Oh.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's, 5-6 pieces of equipment with belts and a bunch of stuff that'll just tear you apart, if you're not,
Well, yeah,
if you don't know what you're expecting.
Most people aren't gonna go out there and jump into it. Probably gonna look at it from 30 feet away,
Yeah.
when it's running anyway.
So you have to have a special licensing or something for that, or a certification.
MSHA is a MSHA. What does it stand for? Mining and Mine Safety and Health Act, something, federal safety regulations, like OSHA.
Did not know that. I just wanted to see it.
Yeah, well, that may be possible, but we're really not supposed to be out there.
That's all right.
Show modern marvels with Scott Woman.
I'll just
crushing
go
machines.
look at a YouTube.
Just be able to get some pictures and stuff, what it looks like.
All right, well, nothing else for them, gentlemen? No? Thanks, Scott. Tell the guys to be safe out there.
Mhm.
All right, we're gonna go to number 3, Auditor's Office, Drainage Matters.
7511.
like the way she said it. Matters.
Drainage matters, it does.
Hey, Chris, we're ready for you. Thank you.
So you were going to Adolph Miners?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Just heard him on the obituaries this morning.
Really? From where?
I'm big Clarion or something.
I got sort of strings down in Clemmy, I know. Adolph. Fuck that.
Good morning.
Morning.
What do you have for us today, Chris?
Nothing that's not on the agenda.
Is there anything, guys, that you have for her other than
She
that?
determined in her announcement that drainage matters.
Drainage matters.
Yeah, it does.
All about it.
Just the way she said it made it sound.
Well, it does matter.
And the drainage meeting is this Friday?
Oh, it is. Yeah,
I suppose it is.
I forgot. Yeah. Are you guys gonna get me a registration to pay for it, or?
Yeah, I'll have to find that.
Okay.
So I suppose we can't do number 4
It's
yet.
also the venture capital thing speaking too. It's also a tough choice. We'll have to see.
Well, we have 4 minutes before we can address the bids for DD 92 improvement project. Is there anything else that we can do in 4 minutes, Carla?
Maybe the 8th, maybe?
Yeah, let's see. I had Kelsey look at this and she didn't see anything exciting.
On the shared liability?
Yeah.
Is this something new or something we do every year? I mean, I don't recognize it, so it doesn't seem like something that we've done.
I believe this kind of changed a little bit right when Mike was going out. I ended up going to a meeting or two at the end there. One was the former workforce development. And then it formed a smaller group in a larger area. So not every county had representation at the table. They just, Corey Eberling was probably their first chair, and then he got voted out, so I don't know where it's gone from there.
So has there always been shared liability, or has it always been on Iowa workforce, or notice? What's the difference?
I don't remember seeing this document before.
Yeah, a new thing.
There's probably somebody that was concerned about the liability, and so they formed a document to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I had Kelsey look at it. She didn't see anything alarming.
Okay.
What have they done for us lately? What are supposed to have done for them?
Used to be centered out of our region. And it used to be
Yeah.
centered out of Mason. Now it's out of Blackhawk
Yeah, there's
in a larger area.
a lot of counties in there that their supervisors,
But then they still have the smaller region.
this is almost all CSS
technical.
counties. And I'm not real popular over that way.
They've had, I know, a hard time getting businesses involved. sit at the table at the technical part.
People really hate it when you confront them with the truth in front of other elected officials.
So I don't know, on our committees, I think she would be on the workforce, but the name might have changed a little bit since it'd be just a name on it.
I certainly don't like the fact that each county doesn't have representation if they're voting on stuff that's gonna affect us.
But it goes through the smaller regional technical first. Supposedly, but I haven't privy to any of that.
Just hate voting on stuff that I just don't completely have a grasp on, I guess.
Could we table it and then look this over and,
Now, there must not be anything that's gonna put the county at too much of a liability risk, or Kelsey would have thrown up a red flag, but
I'm not too concerned about it. I think it's pretty straightforward and
okay, well
protecting
then
everybody.
we'll consider a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Northeast Iowa Workforce Area Chief Elected Officials Shared Liability Agreement.
second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve the Northeast Iowa Workforce Area Chief Elected Officials Shared Liability Agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
It looks like the Workforce Development Board, Susan, you're the person on it, and Terry, you're the alternate.
But I think it's kind of changed, that title has changed. It's probably more the, I can't remember if it's a technical committee or whatever now that we would participate in. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember reading about the stir up
Matt.
changes, but
Has joined.
a meeting I've never been to, I guess.
Okay, well, it is 9:18. Discussion with possible action regarding bids received for DD 92 improvement project.
Okay, I sent you all a forwarded the email from Colin. He did get 3 bids. He had a list of names. I had sent him all of my names, and these are the people that responded. I did check the math on everyone's, when I got that to make sure that they were correct. We do that normally. He has recommended that Larson Contracting get the bid as they are lower by about $6,000. They are willing to start as soon as they can, weather permitting, and that's all I know.
I guess I was glad to see that the estimate was, or their bid was about 25% under the engineer's estimate.
And all 3 were under the engineer's estimate. That was nice.
I'm surprised. Helgeson been dealing with this? Anything bid?
He doesn't bid.
No, he doesn't bid. All right.
So is there any other discussion about awarding this contract?
Comfortable with it.
It's
Okay.
pretty straightforward, I guess.
Yeah, there wasn't anything major that they had to bid on. It was all pretty straightforward, I thought, didn't you? Looking at it?
One of the big differences with Brightsold had a bigger mobilization.
Exactly,
They got a long ways to go.
they did,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So we can move to number 5. Consider a motion for awarding the bid for DD 92. Me?
It's in your district.
I'm gonna make the motion to award the bid for DD 92 to Larson Contracting. Low bid by $6,000. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Smith, seconded by Derby to award the contract to Reed and to Larson Contracting.
And if I
All in favor?
Aye.
And there's 2 copies if you could sign both of those, Susan.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking the math.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, looks like we
And I will let Colin know, and he'll forward the information on to Larson. And
Okay, thank you.
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Number 6, discussion with possible action zoning issue on Apple Avenue with Roger Cruz. I believe, Matt, you're on the phone, I think I heard.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. So what have you found recently, Matt?
I sent an email out yesterday. Drove by the property again on last Wednesday, just to kind of see if there was any evidence of, in and out. Moving some of the scrap stuff off the property, and I didn't see any evidence of it. In fact, I'm not much in scrap, but there looked to be, some fresh, piles of some shiny metal, like they were, getting them ready for taking them someplace. So it just still looks like it's being active. So it just didn't look like there was anything else done since the last time I'd seen it. In fact, it even looked like there's more stuff there. So anyway, so that's why I guess I recommended, for you guys to act on something to, my recommendation would be to give him till I think I put on there the 18th of 16th of January. And then, with monetary, fines after that point.
Sure. Do you have any experience with the severity of the fines? I mean.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't?
don't. In fact, I even kind of looked at, we're part of all the zoning administrators across the state are in a kind of a group program. So I even searched some of that stuff. Didn't really come up with a whole lot. Basically, it just kind of come down to the supervisors, kind of adding that to, how they wanted to deal with that monetarily. So.
Okay, so,
Yes.
go ahead.
Oh, has anybody reached out to him to have him come here and give his side of the story a little bit?
When I talked to him last, I told him supervisors meetings are every Tuesday morning at 9:00 courthouse. And I told that to the landowners around there too. I've talked to a couple people. In fact, I've got a voicemail from one of the neighbors from yesterday that I was going to return after our meeting today, just to kind of give them an update. So I'm getting contacted, probably as much as Susan is. So. So yeah, I did do some research. He does own a parcel in Osceola, that he did purchase. So
It's a long way to haul it all, though.
that's a long way to haul it all.
I mean, it's gonna take more than a month if the quantity of stuff that I'm hearing about. It's, if I was facing something like this, I think I would make sure I was here to, represent myself, kind of throw himself at the mercy of the court or whatever it is, but, means he doesn't make any.
I don't know how active at looking at the agendas either. So, the last conversation I had with him, he said that he needed, 3 to 6 months to get it cleaned up, and I said that, you know, he said he's going to be working every single day, making trips down there. So, you know, I guess that's why I've, you know, driven by the site several times just to see if there's been anything, you know, at least an attempt to get some stuff taken care of, but I didn't see it, so.
Yeah, and I've actually received videos and pictures since he has been contacted of new material coming in there, so. So what, in the recommendation of January 16th is for him to begin
To have it cleaned up.
have it
Cleaned up.
cleaned up.
Cleaned up by then.
Now, so Matt, your January 16th would be about 3 months after you talk to him then?
3 weeks ago.
See, I don't really remember why
That
I
sounds
picked
about
Jane.
right. I mean, it'd be about
I-
3 months after you talked to him and he gave you those numbers of 3 to 6 months, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's the reasoning behind it.
Mhm.
I mean, as long as I was seeing progress and he was in here explaining himself, I would, you know, I would hold off on the fines until he was cleaned up, as long as he's making progress at it.
I'm just wondering if $50 a day is strong enough.
Well,
And if he wants to come in, if he's making progress before then, he can come in and talk to us about waiving
Yeah.
it for a while or something.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if he doesn't come in, then I'm all for, you know, if he's not gonna communicate with us when he knows his position is in the wrong.
So do we need to communicate with him about what the fines are and what they will be and when they start?
well, if we vote on it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. And who does that? Who?
Through Matt, I suppose. I don't know.
Matt will, once we
Yeah.
determine that,
Yeah. My thinking was if you guys took some action, then I would just type it up on, you know, some zoning letterhead like I've done before, and I'll get a hold of the
Steve?
local sheriff, see if they can have that delivered again.
he's sitting right here,
he's
so.
sitting right here, so he'll know all
Yep.
about it.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
They helped me out last time, so it worked out nice. So
It's the same as the email.
okay. Was there anything you'd like to add, Matt,
That's
that
the only way
we
he's
should
gonna
know?
Is through you.
No, I mean that's all I've got. So.
Okay,
And I think I sent an email to everybody, and Kelsey emailed back, and she said, you know, she felt okay with my recommendations. So
okay, all right. Well, good. Well, this has been ongoing for a long time, so.
What's your thoughts on the fine?
Oh, unless he comes in here and,
That it's $50 the right number, or?
So if we do $50 a day and he doesn't comply, can we change it
Have it progressive after
after
a month? It's
$100
$100
January
a day.
16th?
$1,500 a month. Most people don't like that. Kind of
After 30 days, it goes.
I was just thinking, do we go, you know, $50 a day for the first month? And of course, if he's making progress, then maybe we can waive it, but, and then
But
if
we
he
have to have
doesn't,
communication.
if he doesn't get any communication, whatever, then after in the second month, it goes up to $100 a day. I mean, it's,
I think let's not make it so confusing. Let's just make it simple. Do the $50 a day.
And we'll
If he gets,
simply have to revisit it if he doesn't.
if he comes in and if he gets, he's gonna figure it out and he's gonna come in and
Yeah.
make a plea to you, or he's not. I mean, it's simple.
and the next thing is there a way to collect the fines? If he has no property in this county that we can,
It'd be a lien on the property, wouldn't it?
I mean, if he has property, but,
Be levied or?
Well, there's no proof that he's actually sold this property.
Yeah, well, there is an email that suggests that it's happened, but if he ends up with no property in this county and he's gonna move down to Osceola with all this stuff, how would you ever collect the fines?
Well, if you have a lien before he sells.
We do have a wonderful, intelligent county attorney who could probably make whatever we want happen.
Yeah, you can make all kinds of legal postures, but if you can actually get somebody to pay something if they're,
But he's picked up and moved to Osceola with all the stuff, who cares?
well, now, yeah,
The
but,
problem is solved.
well, unless he moves to Osceola and leaves it.
There's value.
That's a whole nother problem.
Well, then you probably can hire some other scrappers when they're cleaning it up.
I don't know if you'd have to hire, just let
Well,
it go.
yeah, you just let him go clean it up.
Okay, so we have possible action on this.
Once again, it's her,
Yeah, I guess the only thing is what do we want the daily fine to be?
we can start at 50,
All right,
address it later.
all right.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to the zoning issue on Apple Avenue that there will be a $50 a day fine beginning on
16.
January 16th. If there's no improvement,
You'll be directing the zoning administrator to send him a letter stating such.
yeah. So Matt will send a letter to him explaining what is going to happen and,
Through the sheriff,
oh, for the sheriff.
through the sheriff, yeah.
Second that, or-
Sure, I'll second it.
A motion by Smith and seconded by Jensvold, to address this zoning issue on Apple Avenue. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who went with him last time? Do you know?
I'm sorry.
Who went with Matt to deliver that letter last time? Which of your?
Is he still on there?
I just had it served.
Oh,
So
okay,
just one of the deputies did it.
okay. Okay. Did we do all in favor? Did we say?
Yeah, we did,
We
but
did?
he didn't ask for opposed.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, motion passed. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
We're gonna move to open forum.
I'm gonna give you this. Make a copy for y'all.
Sure.
Matt.
In the present basket.
Has left.
How is that administered? He just gets a bill? How is this administered? Is it, we send him a bill
I think
after a month or?
after a month, he'd send him.
So we have to put it on the agenda a month after on February 16th. Can you look at it again? I just don't want to do the
Well, I think
Right.
you're gonna have to send a bill to be able to collect and start the process of, you have to put a lien against it or something. Perhaps, no, we don't.
Yeah, I understand.
I didn't know that the city representative to the NICOG board.
wasn't it Candy Hannah?
Not on the board. Well, maybe she was, yeah, she did go to it.
It was Candy.
I don't remember it. I don't know. If Mel's mayor wants to do it, I don't know if Ron wants to do it. Or say, or.
So this is for you to think about for next week, because it's on the agenda for next week. I just gave you copies so you can think about it for next week.
So they're actually looking for suggestions for that vacant.
Well, you guys need to appoint those,
Yeah.
and I have it on the agenda for
So,
next week.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion about it? Gentlemen?
That's the cash report. This is the TIF report, and this is the debt.
The city representative has to be, like either the mayor or a city
The
councilman.
mayor or like the administrator or something from one of the cities.
Candy was as the mayor.
Candy Hannah was.
She and I rode together every time.
She's retired from it.
Yes. She's no longer the mayor.
Are we in open forum?
Yeah, let's go through, can you wait on that, Terry, because Julie's got a couple
Yeah.
things? Okay, yeah, Julie has some concerns.
Yes, I was just kind of wondering where we're at with the discussion with waste management.
We sent out a letter for proposals.
Okay, because we have a problem with them picking up our recycles. We were supposed to be picked up on the 18th, and then we get a call like at 4:30. We can't service you today, we'll pick your stuff up on Saturday, the 19th. They never came. Same thing, we get a call late in the day, we can't service you today, but we'll be there on Monday. Same thing, they didn't come on Monday, we'll be there on the 23rd. They don't show up. So we're hauling these big tubs back and forth, picking up garbage because the wind blows it over.
And
which
it's
is-
not just one place, it's the
It's the
whole,
whole
Well, yeah,
section.
section.
Drugs contacted me about it too, north of Lake Mills.
Yeah, so it's 170th, 460th, that whole section of Scarville. So when I called them, because it was like, okay, you'll get it the next day, but they don't call and say no service until the end of the day. Well, we've already hauled everything down, picked everything up, we've hauled it back.
the wind has blown it over.
It is, it's a mess out there.
It'd be nice if they had latches on that thing so they could just blow over without popping.
We all liked the smaller containers, they were easier to transport back and forth when you're in the country. So when I called and asked what was going on and what the problem is, I talked to a gentleman by the name of Chris, and he said that the gentleman had a medical emergency on the 18th. Understandable.
It's one day.
But what happened to Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday again? Well, they were coming on Monday, yesterday. Never showed up. Never got the call until about 2:05. Your services will be granted on Tuesday,
Today.
today. So we have elderly people hauling these bins back and forth, which is no fun. I don't like doing it. So I called him this morning just to say, are we going to have service today before we carry everything down? Well, she said, I talked to some lady. And she says, I don't understand, but she says, I know we're short help. Well, why didn't you say that to begin with and put us out to next month then? Because it's people over here in Mount Valley that aren't getting picked up either. So he is so far behind, how is he gonna,
Mine is supposed to be next Thursday, or Friday, I guess.
yeah, so we're supposed to get it today. But she said this morning when I called her a little after 7, the truck wasn't even out yet. And I said, well, the weather's getting bad, so I'm sure we're not gonna get picked up today either. So, I don't know. I told her, I said I was gonna visit with the Board of Supervisors today.
Like I said, we put it out for proposal, if we have to renew our contract.
Okay,
We're actually overdue on that. It was first of December it was due or something.
I'm not 100% sure.
But we're putting it out for other options too, so.
yeah,
We're not sure if it's even worth anymore, because they almost have to prove that they're actually recycling it. Recycling's not going well for us.
Julie and I had that conversation this morning, and for me, that's a big part of it. You know, if they're really,
yeah,
if they're turning their recycling into trash, that's, and I don't know who is, you know, but we've had those conversations here. So,
It's almost like we need to put a tracking device in the recycling.
or some type of proof. Put your phone in there.
Well, they have those little things you can put in your bag or whatever.
Tiles, yeah.
They're pretty cheap.
So, yeah, let's,
so I didn't know if there is somebody here that can reach out to Waste Management. Is there another person that you talk to that's in
Is
charge?
Chris our contact person?
Chris talks to him regularly when there's problems, so
Yeah. There's problems out there, and I know somebody's garbage has went over, and it's everywhere, and they're not gonna pick it up. They're tired of it. And so now you got that big mess out in the country.
Well, I can understand them being short of help. What
Yeah,
I can't understand is telling them they're gonna be there and they're not going to be.
Right.
Just make damn sure before you tell them that it's gonna happen, that it's gonna happen.
thank you. That's what I feel too. And this Chris told me, he said, we've got 170th marked and 460th, so you will be picked up today, which was Monday, yesterday. And he said, we'll make sure that you guys are getting picked up. Nothing. Till late last night, we get a call, you will be serviced on Tuesday. It's the same
so do you
story.
know the streets or the locations in the Mount Valley one at all, or,
I don't
okay?
know I wonder if it's past the bowling alley
Hmm.
out that way.
Whatever it was probably last week.
Yeah, and I think they were told that they'd be picked up on Saturday this week. But them too, they're hauling it down there, have the same problem with the wind, haul it back, you know. It's frustrating, and
So
these
where are-
containers are terrible.
Yeah, they really
I
haven't.
can't believe they
Yeah.
haven't put some kind of a latch system on them where when they get blown over, because they're tall enough that they're gonna blow over. That if it does get blown over, at least the lid won't pop open.
I started delivering mine directly there, because I'm close enough to,
Well,
the
like I
landfill
had
that I can
mentioned,
just-
if we could go back to those smaller containers, we'll fill ours up, we'll take it to where it needs to go, and then pick up clean ones and take back, if that's what it has to come to, because we're paying for a service we're not getting.
Well, our request for proposals included other options. Whether it's
So do you have-
dumpsters or
Would you,
stationary dumpsters you go to or whatever.
would you rather
How
have
does,
your recycling at the end of your driveway? Or would you rather have it where we have like, every county, secondary road location have a thing where you just bring your recycling there?
Well, that wouldn't bother me, but what about the elderly people?
So that's, but then they also have to take it out to the end of the driveway.
Yes, they do,
This is
but
Well, like my father said, he goes to town every day when he was alive. He would go to town every day for coffee. He could bring a small amount and drop it.
you know, but some people don't go every day, you know.
I think the convenience, like for me, I didn't have to remember
To set it out.
to set it out, that then when I had a bag full, I could just take it to the landfill and put it in their recycling bins. So for me, it was much handier.
If you're young and wanna have a big container and wait until it's full and go once and dump it in, you can do that.
Yeah, something needs to change.
Or if you're, I guess you can, if you're taking it into town yourself and dumping it, then you can also do it in smaller containers. Or just have it in a garbage bag or whatever.
Mhm.
So what we're hoping by trying to get some other bids or other ideas or thoughts on how we should do it is to save money and then hopefully get better service.
We have, someone from Buffalo Center that's, but he can only do it if we have dump locations. He doesn't have enough time to drive the whole county and pick them up at each place.
Okay.
So we got one local guy that's gonna bid on that end of it anyway.
But I just thought you guys should know that people are getting very frustrated. And if somebody can reach out to them and say, hey, we need to figure out what's going on, or do you have a deadline when they need to get back to you on these proposals
12th.
of December?
Mhm.
So hopefully it'll make them rethink what they're doing and how they're doing it, and if they know that there's gonna be possible.
Well, like this Chris
Competition.
told me, he goes, well, maybe we should start having the driver mark off each address as he picks up their container. And I said, well, wouldn't you think you'd want to know that anyway, that they're hitting each address that they're supposed to be picking up?
I thought they were recording that. Seemed like they were.
So he said, we'll make sure that you get marked. I'm like, okay. So,
Well, it's kind of silly if they're not.
when do you think you'd want to know if the guy is doing his job? And yesterday, they watched him drive right past the mile west of us. So he was out yesterday, but he was a mile west doing that route,
For whatever reason, didn't make it.
but he didn't get anybody to the east.
I can understand being shorthanded, those things
Yeah,
happen.
and I understand that too, but then say that, and then say, we're not gonna
Or
be
just
able to
say
pick
it's
you
gonna
up.
be next month.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
Don't
take
make
you at the next,
don't make it a daily thing, dragging it back and forth.
yeah, it's become a big joke, really, and it's just maddening.
Well, like you say, if there's elderly people trying to drag those out there, someone's gonna get hurt, and that's not,
Yeah, it's getting slippery.
Yes, I know it. So that was my concern, and I just thought if somebody could reach out to him.
thank you for your
You
input.
wanna have Chris do it, or one of us, or?
Well, I can try to have Chris do it, but probably have more weight coming from one of you.
I can stop in there on my way,
It's not
Yeah.
there, it's somewhere else that deals with the recycling.
I know, but that, in fact, when you talk to them, they want you to call somewhere.
Seemed like the person
Else.
was up in Clark's Grove.
Yeah, I think when I call,
Yeah.
it's like, yesterday I talked to Chris, today I talked to a lady, and they had to wait to punch in my address for the schedule to come up. And then she said, well, I can see that you're on the pickup today, but the truck isn't even out yet. I thought, well, we're not gonna be picked up today and probably have to pick up garbage.
Yeah.
So that was just our concern, and
Okay, well, we'll have Chris check on it too, and I can do some calling as well.
yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate that.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Julie.
Yep.
Anything else for open forum today?
I have a few items.
Okay.
Last few weeks, I guess there's been discussions in regards to the EMS and how to handle the committees from the first committee, and then there's also consideration or discussion in regards to forming a second committee that would continue to assess the financial requests by these EMS agencies in the county. And I guess my one question to the supervisors this morning is how would the supervisors handle persons who may have a direct or indirect financial conflict of interest, a person from those committees?
Well, we do have EMS on our agenda.
Yeah, and everything I have for open forum is EMS related. I didn't know if I'd have an opportunity to ask these questions during that agenda item.
Challenge is if it's under open forum, we can't really discuss it on that part of the agenda.
Yeah.
So we can listen, but we can't really discuss it. But we can discuss it down on number 12.
So why don't you tell us your concerns?
You wanna move to number 12?
Well,
Did
no,
we
he
finish-
can,
Did we finish open forum beyond that then?
he can discuss his concerns during open forum. We just can't
Right,
talk about it.
but if you wanted to hear what we had to say, go.
Would you like to speak during open forum, or where you'd like to wait?
All right. Oh, I have a few things, I guess.
Okay,
To respond to your initial questions, do I have an opinion on it? I do feel as a citizen and taxpayer of the county that there are persons that are on that first initial committee that would have a direct and/or indirect financial conflict of interest. The other question I had was ongoing with the filings of the IRS for two nonprofit organizations in the county. I was wondering, I guess, in the future, again, this is a rhetorical question, but how the county would respond into assessing the financial position of each EMS agency. The other question was is that in the event that one of the EMS agencies submit a proposal to this committee to be reimbursed or provide funding, for example, for city ambulance has requested financial compensation for a paramedic program. In the event that that money was provided out to that organization and they had a salary savings because of either a termination or the position not filled, how would that money be handled? And that's kind of all ties into, I guess, the reassessment of the max levy of the 1% and also of the property assessment. And if you can't provide discussion or answers to that, that's all I have. Oh, correction, can I make one additional statement? Is the, I know that the second committee that was potentially going to be formed, there's nothing on the application that I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the fact of whether or not the question was being brought forth to the applicant if they had a direct or indirect financial conflict of interest serving on that committee. There's questions in regards to hobbies.
okay, well, if you want to stick around for agenda item 12, or we can
We can go to 12.
go to that since there's no time specified for it. So, number 12, discussion with possible action regarding EMS. We can have discussion. Anyone like to address his first question? Which, you want to repeat it again? We want to make sure that people.
He wanted to know about the conflict of interest of somebody possibly serving on the council that would have direct impact from a decision made by the council. I think he has a valid request there. If we were to appoint somebody on that council, they should abstain from any votes that would directly impact them. That's pretty common with any of the boards, you know. We can't avoid it altogether, you know, because if it's kind of a fine line you have to wade through. So one thing we talked about was if you're going to have a committee, you don't want it like a quorum influence by the EMS. You know, you want to have certain representation possibly, but have a larger amount that could overrule them. Is that the way you were thinking?
That's the way we
Yes.
discussed it last week.
That's why we talked about the numbers of how many people to be on the board. So I think it is a concern, for sure.
And I-
Susan, you talked this morning, you know, you and me, when we were just in here by ourselves, you talked about, you know, just having the technical committee and then having the technical committee, you know, just report to the main committee.
Personally, I liked the idea when it first came up of having any EMS personnel being on a technical committee, as we talked about, that would conference together by themselves, come up with a 15-minute presentation each time that they could go to the advisory council with their best recommendations. And I do like that idea.
Should they have at least one member on that main committee then to make that presentation.
Well, down in Wright County, the project coordinator goes to those meetings
Okay.
and then brings the information to the council.
I think it would be more concise. You're not gonna have lots of overly discussions. They're just gonna have their information, present it to the people who have control over the finances and.
There is a percentage of the population out there that is very concerned about this issue.
Absolutely.
But, I would assume that a lot of those probably voted against it. But, because there does seem to be an opportunity for that. I'm not saying that anybody has that in their mind, that they're trying to get out for personal gain, but, things like that do happen, so you gotta make sure you cover your bases.
Was there anything that you'd like to speak to towards that?
In regard, I guess in regards to what was discussed, particularly last week, there was a few members from the First City Ambulance Service that was here, and my understanding is that there were some questions about the ongoing first committee that was formed on this. And tonight, I
This
believe,
year's committee.
yeah. So, and my understanding is that there's a meeting this evening as well in regards to EMS, and just trying to figure out how that was all came about, this meeting this evening, and what role I guess Forest City is playing in this, because it just seems that there's one EMS agency that tends to be steering this in a very heavily way towards their benefit.
Of course, EMS will have possibly two parts in the budget. They'll have their EMS funding, and then they'll also have their paramedic funding that they will be taking on. So, yeah, they do have a lot of stake in the game there, but I guess we don't know yet how things are gonna transpire. The whole current committee's invited to the one tonight, right?
Yeah.
If, say they are short an employee, and we give them we're gonna give those allotments and lump sum once a year, or?
Oh, gosh, no.
No, so so then it'll be, and if it comes down to where they end up not having an employee, then that salary should be deducted from what we give them and stay in our EMS fund or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So that
We
would
will
take
be,
care of that.
it'll be reimbursements.
Yes.
Nothing will be coming in a lump sum. It will be all reimbursements.
That's what I would have hoped for. It's, I didn't know if there was some legality where it had to be the other way.
Yep, I will be watching over their expenditures like I watch over and you will be watching over their expenditures just like you watch over
And it will be audited just like
everything else.
all of the other
Yep.
monies that go through there.
What timeline do you foresee on a transition on the paramedics? Do you look at September or?
I think September, because that's when the tax money will start coming in.
Just wondering now, Forest City, they're setting their budget, are they gonna have to set a budget for a couple of months to fund
I
them?
would think so. I mean, they're gonna have to fund everything until our tax money, I mean,
Yeah, no, it's gonna remain the same until the money comes in, they're gonna have to.
Well, the other part of it is, we aren't gonna be giving Forest City $75,000 next year. And that initially was out of our general fund. I don't know if we have to budget,
because we don't give them that until October anyway,
okay.
Okay,
because they wouldn't have gotten that money until,
next October anyhow, so. They've already received it to get them through until,
So we would hope they had some carryover funds to,
we'll give them their next portion of that in March.
okay,
So they'll get their 35,000 or whatever in March.
okay, that happens twice, yeah, I do see it every now and then.
Yeah, to comment on the conflict of interest part of it. I guess the one question, conflict of interest on this is the negotiations have been primarily with the Forest City Ambulance Service providing this. But what happens if Lake Mills says that they don't feel that they're being benefited from this, or Buffalo Center, and then they make a budget request to hire a full-time paramedic.
We have to look at it.
I guess that's a question that I'm posing to the board, I guess, is there appears to be a conflict of interest directly negotiating with a nonprofit organization to provide a service when the other two entities may or may not want this. I don't know, I'm not speaking on any of their behalf, but are they afforded the same right to even ask for it?
That's why I wanted to give more to each ambulance service, so they could have that possibility.
The three ambulance services did all meet and come up with this plan though. I mean, that's
It was presented to us
from the three
From all
ambulance
three.
services.
with Forest City being the most vocal, but I mean, but they all did come up with that original plan. I think that when we get this advisory board established, and they will look at each of those situations at that point. I don't know that the group so far has told them how to run. If the Lake Mills says, hey, we'd like to use our money for this, I think that board is gonna say, let's look at it. Let's assess it. Let's figure out if that is the best situation.
No, I'm not saying that this is always gonna be the case, but Mackenzie Dressler from Buffalo Center and Megan Felsted from Lake Mills and the other girl from Lake Mills sat in a meeting the one night and did say, you know, we get along great. We're not like Cassuth County that fights about, the towns. They show up at the scene at the same time. They fight over who puts the person in the back of the ambulance, She said, our ambulance services get along very well. But, who's to say that that'll always be the case? So, I don't know. I hope that this continues to be good. I do worry with Forest City being very domineering that it'll continue to go well. I don't know. I hope it goes well for everybody. I mean,
So the concerns I had when they were speaking last time they were here was, that they're thinking about expanding into areas too. And that is a concern of mine. And I think that the new advisory council would need to really watch how that comes together, if that's what they're gonna do. I wanna focus on our county. I don't wanna really spend any of our tax dollars expanding into other, personally.
You don't wanna help out Worth County like Saragota County did?
no.
There's
Nope.
nothing excluding another entity that decides that they want to become the ambulance service, or another for-profit organization coming in here and asking for those same funds. It's just, there's a lot of things to us to consider on this. So a lot of it is getting the framework up ahead of this, opposed to having an issue later on and figuring out how to handle it,
Yeah.
because these are taxpayer dollars.
Well, and I can see that if something like that came forward and it really was a great option to get coverage in Rake, Scarville and areas, I think they should look at it. And maybe that is where some of those monies should go. The
If it
council.
works out for the taxpayers and the people that need the service, everything's on the table.
I think so too.
If it's, especially if it's a better way to spend the dollars. If it's not, it won't happen.
All good questions. Did you want to discuss the, the funds that the individual ambulance services have?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Go ahead, let's hear what your concerns are.
I guess the one concern would be how this committee and the supervisors would be conducting ongoing assessments. The financial disclosures weren't provided during those committees by any one of those entities. And by my own research of looking at the IRS website, again, the 2020 filing, Forest City alone shows $595,000 in cash assets and or savings or temporary cash. Lake Mills shows $292,000, and that's excluding any assets that they have at their disposal. And I'm just a little concerned with this max levy on the 1% and on the property assessment is how are these ongoing assessments going to be evaluated, even with the board, because the board doesn't have necessarily any statutory reach to request these financial disclosures from these organizations. They're a nonprofit. So how, there was discussion on how this money's going to roll back. Is this money's going to roll back into this trust fund if there's a positive, or is it going to go back to the individual agencies? So for example, if maybe as an example, this isn't the numbers, but Forest City shows a $45,000 positive revenue increase in the next year. How's that going to be handled? Is that going back into the trust fund, or is it going to be handled and given to the agency?
Basically, it's accountable reimbursements for us, but we have to look at it on budget time. How is it going? And unfortunately, we'll be, next year at this time, we'll be only a few months into it. We won't have a good handle on it yet, so it's going to be a year and a half before we can really have a good assessment.
And I know they haven't provided any official documentation maybe, but I've also heard that they don't have that much money on it. That's what I was told.
And you're talking at a certain period of time during the year when they do their filing. Yeah, we don't know the story behind that.
Might have bought an ambulance right after that or something like that.
Or different equipment, you know.
Yeah.
And they might not have as well.
But no, yeah, I mean, it's,
I think to alleviate concerns of the citizens that have some concerns over this is that I don't think it's unreasonable that if these nonprofit organizations want tax money, that
well,
they should be able to
by
disclose.
law, they have to provide that information because it's public funds doing most of it.
Well, we have public access to their filings.
Yeah, yeah. But, so, I mean, if there is, I was told, especially for city, that they did not have that lump sum of money sitting there.
But they obviously did.
At one point, so what happened to it? It's curious. I'd like to see something official. You like to take the
They also
word
have
of
a new
everybody.
ambulance. So
Yeah.
some of the money went out.
But to this date, I guess, in defense, nobody knows where these entities are sitting, and they, I
Well,
mean,
not officially.
You're
I've been-
right, they're very closed-mouthed about it. They were during the meetings,
Yeah.
and they still are. So, yes, it would be nice, it would be beneficial if they would be more forthright in, in the funds that they have. I don't know that we can require them, to
I mean,
give us their,
Financial
I'm
statement.
not a
Yeah.
fan, even though Buffalo Center's not one of the has this that I know of. I'm not a fan of taking Lake Mills or Forest City money and dumping it into a pot for everybody. Either they have people that gave that money or whatever, gave it to the Forest City ambulance. And, but also, if they do have that cash, then maybe they should be buying some of the stuff themselves before they get their reimbursement from the county for whatever thing that came up. So,
but can that be a task that we give to the advisory council, that they look at that before we allot the $30,000 or monies to them? I mean, it is a concern. I've had other people say the same thing.
Yeah, I guess the big concern is that they're not operating at the end of the year, that they're not at $0. They're not at $5,000. And again, this is according to the IRS filing, so I hope they are accurate at that particular time and period of snapshot. They're showing, I would consider my personal opinion, is a substantial, healthy, maybe place financially for a nonprofit organization. And with the financials, I guess the other question was about there was discussion about asking cities to potentially contribute as well, individually on top of this already.
Well, if the cities start to contribute, then the county money should not be spent. I mean, even if we get it to where it's actually gonna be fair, and the cities are putting in, especially for the paramedic service, where the cities are putting in, like Buffalo Center should put in their 8%, because they're 8% of the population. When that happens, then as far as I'm concerned, we would lower the levy to make the difference. It's,
At the end of the day, I guess, there's only one way for the government to make money, right? If you were to think about it, when it really comes down to the majority of their money, it's property taxes. So whether it's the city of Lake Mills getting it through the general funding and then giving it, it's still taxes
it's still
placed upon all
taxes,
citizens.
but right now, the way it's gonna be set up now, 23% of the population of Winnebago County, which is the rural Winnebago County, is paying for 67% of this bill. And that's not fair. Four cities should pay their 40%, Lake Mills should pay their 20%. That's where the money should be coming from. It shouldn't be coming from the general across the county. I mean, if you demand a service, you should be the one who pays for it. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. And me, I live in town. I should be more than happy to have rural paying extra for me. But I don't think it's fair. So I'd be willing to pay more myself for what should be or what is fair.
So is that also a task that could also be put on this advisory council?
That's gonna have to be, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
to keep furthering that along so that it does become more equitable between all of the,
you know, and whether it's us or the advisory council, somebody has got to make this proposal to the cities to get them on board with it.
absolutely. Any
And
other-
it was, you know, I mean, in the numbers that I'm giving her, the number of calls for the paramedic service almost exactly mirrors the percentage of the populations. You know, 20% of the calls go to Lake Mills, 8% go to Buffalo Center. The numbers are uncannily close to that, so.
But here's another question. So if the ambulance sits here and I live here, it's a lot less gas for the ambulance to get here to here than it does for the ambulance to get here to here. I mean, am I thinking wrong? Or like, you know, if the ambulance is here, it takes less for the ambulance to get here to here than here to here.
So
So-
you're saying
And
rural
the
people
pay-
should be paying more?
And the
I mean,
paid time involved.
I'm not saying anything, I'm just
So
But-
it's
but-
hard,
making a point.
I get it, it's hard to wrap your head around these things, because I thought the same thing. I'm a landowner, I live in the country, I'm that bigger percentage.
Mhm.
You're welcome, right? But when I think about it, the only way I could rationalize it for myself and for other farmer friends who came up to me and didn't really like this, was that I have multiple places that an ambulance could be called to. You know, you have a home that's probably gonna be called there. You know, we have 13 different fields. you know,
Yeah, but
that it might go to.
then the ambulance comes for me, I could be in 100 different places
That's-
in Winnebago County,
That's true too.
you know, and not necessarily.
But it's the only
odds
way
are,
for
'cause you spend
me-
more time at home, but,
It was, for me, it made me rationalize a yes vote, you know, because of that. And
I mean,
I
I mean, I went back and forth on it myself, and,
so it's hard to rationalize those things, like you're saying, they're driving farther, they're going farther, they're,
I don't think there's a clear-cut way to determine those, you know, splits
yeah,
per se. I think there's a combination of two different things you have to look at both ways. And like she was talking, you know, it's not only the gas, it's also the labor that you're involved in to get there and be gone long.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna argue your way, I could argue
Yeah.
a different way.
well, okay, for city
That's what I'm
benefits,
saying.
because they've got it right here, so they get quicker service with the paramedic service. If the paramedics are going to Buffalo Center, it's costing way more to go to Buffalo Center. So then Buffalo Center should even pay a little bit more then, or Ray should pay even more than that. If you wanna get to really on to splitting the hairs on it. But if you wanna keep it relatively simple, I don't think those costs are astronomical, but to keep it relatively simple, you just have to go with the percentage of
It
the
all depends on
population.
where the paramedic is at the time.
That's true.
well, and I think
They're-
that's
they're
why
gonna-
it didn't pass in Worth County, is because people wanted it, some people wanted it centralized, but the majority of the population is in Northwood. You know, so I'm sure they voted it down. I would like to get back to how the individual ambulances that have substantial funds in their coffers, how they would be able to, how we could require them to be more transparent. I would like that. See what are they saving it for? You know, where is it gonna be used?
Legally, they have to be transparent, so there's no reason not to put those numbers out there.
Right, but during the meetings, it was difficult to get that information, and I appreciated you bringing it
And
forward.
I'm not so sure the people that were at the meetings had access to that information.
They might not have even
Yeah.
known, that's right.
I was on the committee, that had been requested several times. And I directly asked them, why didn't you bring it? And they said, it's not that we didn't bring it, we didn't know what to bring. And I guess to me, financials are financials. They should have brought the basic revenue and expenditures. What are you spending on salaries? What are you spending? And I had to go back to historical filings from the IRS to be able to even find anything, because they wouldn't share anything. And then a comment during the committee, and I won't say whom, but was that we don't want the public to know how much money we have, because they won't understand how much it costs to buy an ambulance.
And then they wouldn't give? Then they wouldn't have the donations, or what?
They were concerned about this passing, the property, essentially
Oh.
the last in the general election.
Mhm.
And I guess as a taxpayer, and again, coming or being the spokesperson of other people that are concerned as well, is that I think the biggest thing is transparency. Is where are these agencies sitting financially? Where are the taxpayers' money going? I don't think there's a whole lot of concern that this is a bad thing. It's just, it could turn into a really bad thing if there's not accountability. And these are not government organizations like my understanding is Wright County. Some of them were city situations where they have to have transparency. But the transparency really stops the nonprofit organization if they're not willing to share their financials other than their IRS tax filings.
Well, and it's, I haven't heard any reports of all kinds of misappropriation of these funds. So those funds are sitting there for future use. Does it look bad that they're sitting on a bunch of money to the public? Maybe, but then most of the public has got to realize that it's as many hundreds of thousands of dollars that it can disappear in a hurry. Just like money in your own budget. You're sitting there with a bunch, and then all of a sudden after you're done paying bills, it's just like, well, where did it all go? That's what happens. Sometimes you got a lot of money in account, and then when you're done with things that come up, all of a sudden it's all gone again, you know, it's, yeah, I can see no reason for them not to.
I think it'll be interesting how the three EMSs will work together, since we're talking about centralized purchasing of products and rotating it. They're gonna rely on one entity doing their buying for them on those replaceable products. We are not funding those replaceable products as far as I know. We're doing equipment and training and things like that. But they're gonna rely on one entity doing their buying. So that's gonna, I don't know if they have to pass money to that entity to pay for it then. I don't know how they work that, it's beyond me. That'll see how well they get along.
And I understand this is a recent thing that just happened with the election. It's just that there's a lot of significant unanswered questions. And I have a little get concerned of just sending it to a committee and having them make these substantial decisions.
Well, hopefully, most of the people we have on the committees are coming at this from a, how can we do this efficiently and fairly? I mean, you can't have the committee made up of completely people off of the services. I mean, it's gotta be tax-paying business people that are concerned with the welfare of the population and the welfare of the population's public money. So that's why we gotta pick the right people.
Choose one. Have we, Carla, have we had, people
Anyone apply? No.
I've had somebody reach out to me.
Okay,
I've had one person reach out to me.
okay.
I don't know if they applied, but they showed interest with it.
So it's been in the paper and
It's the same
advertised
one.
for how, has it been 2
She
weeks
has
now,
a
or
daughter
just
that
2 weeks?
EMGA, looking over for paramedic.
So, are there any other discussions, any other concerns that anyone would like to bring up?
So when are we gonna be talking about the council then?
I would guess next week, I can put that on the agenda.
Are we gone?
I will not be gone now.
Oh, you will be around.
Mhm. So did you guys look at the agenda for this evening? Okay, anything we need to discuss about that, that's gonna be on that agenda? Concerns?
The one question I asked during open forum was, how was that initiated? I guess tonight's evening meeting.
Well, we felt like we needed to meet with Fort City EMS to start the process of figuring out the paramedic part of it. But then it was also included to the committee, the existing committee, so, which we needed to probably get together no matter what, just kind of a final meeting.
So some people haven't seen the facilities down there and their equipment and, you know,
We were having meetings there before in a smaller format, but now the full committee's never been down.
is that open to the public?
Hmm?
Is that
Yes.
open to the public?
If we're there, it's open to the public.
Yeah, so come with your questions. What do you think about the weather? Will they change it, you think?
Last I saw, we're only supposed to get 1 to 3, which isn't too bad, and it's supposed to taper off.
Guess a lot of it's gonna melt. The wind is the only thing that might raise havoc.
Well, mine even shows the wind going down in the afternoons.
Is the meeting being ran by the supervisors then, or being moderated by the supervisors, or is it Fort City end?
It's our agenda item. We have a full agenda for it, so.
So Susan will be the chair.
And when else do we go at 18 mile an hour according to this?
You're welcome to come this evening.
He was invited, he's on the,
He's on the committee,
yeah.
On the mailing list.
or bring anyone that has concerns. Now is when to talk about it.
Or if somebody's willing to serve on the advisory council, they should probably go to this
Bring them
one just
with.
to get a heads up
Exactly.
on what's going on.
For sure. You know, it's been
There's your phone number.
it's been a frustrating situation because I've had so many people actually stop me on the street, come out to the farm with questions, tons of questions, and that's fine. But the first thing they say is, I should have come to the meeting. I probably would have had some of these answers if I'd have come to a meeting. And I'm like, you know, we don't have all the answers yet. I don't know that you would have found them at the meetings either, but we didn't have fabulous turnout, you know?
You're talking about the public.
All the public meetings, yeah. Not sure the best way to get information out. Okay, so there's possible action on here. What's that then? 12.
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing really.
There is no
Just in
possible-
case there was, she put it on there.
In case somebody came up with the perfect solution, we were gonna,
Yeah, yeah.
Or if we had to indicate we have to do this or something to get to the next step.
all right. Well, I think we're gonna move on and away from this discussion, unless someone has anything to add.
I suppose I gotta stand up.
Thank you for your input. Let's go to number 9. Consider for approval cash report. Still lots of work to do. Charlie, are you doing minutes tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Fort City, isn't it?
I will be there.
Looked like a positive cash report. I'll make a motion to approve the cash report.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby, seconded by Jensel to approve the cash report. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Consider for approval urban renewal report.
So on our urban renewal report, this number down here at the bottom, the -7,700,000, that's our debt yet to pay, or not?
I think it means that that's how much less we have this year than last year.
That's how much less debt we have
No. That's how much less there is in that fund.
on that fund. Oh,
That's because of the way that,
The rollback on their new project.
in the way that Sue did the windmill valuations last year. It's a bad deal.
Okay, so we had, last year's cash balance was almost 4.3 million. We had expenditures of 2.47. Our balance went up to 5.2, but then down at the bottom it says
7 million.
Yeah, to me, it was a positive number here. I'm not looking at that.
Year-end outstanding to obligations.
Is that what we have
Was
left
this
on our
emailed to us?
debt?
This is one of those that I looked at it, thought I was gonna read it later. I didn't.
Special revenue.
That's what I was thinking.
Fund balance.
Are you able to bring up on your computer that page from last year? Say more.
I think I can pull up last year's on
That'd
this
be-
computer.
I'd be curious to look at the pages.
Otherwise I can go get the.
I think so too.
It's one of my weak areas.
And the person that reached out to you about possibly being an advisory council for the tonight.
I don't recall. I was on a call yesterday. He sent me a message.
Really, that'd be great if you.
He's a very interesting. Wow.
Very good.
He's
Well, that'd be a good addition.
yeah, no, he's a good man. He has experience. He's not here all the time. He lives in his house.
I was gonna mention that.
Yeah, this time of year is kind of the critical time for the advisory council for budgeting and things like that.
So that's something we'll have to definitely look at as well. Is that the tip?
It's a report.
look into that, Terry. Can you go back to open forum for 1 second and do that?
Ask the sheriff.
Can you go back to open forum for 1 second to look at a manure management?
Sure. Open forum.
How is this going to be stamped? This is just, do we stamp it, or is it?
I think it just gets approved. I don't think I need it stamped.
Okay. There's no place for her to sign.
No.
So the report couldn't find the, what her last.
I think I just need to look at it. I might have to have you recertify it maybe next week.
Okay.
But it has to be done this week, so.
We can change it after the fact.
Yeah,
Just like taxes.
Yeah,
As long as you file in time, you can go back and change it later,
yeah.
yeah,
or so they tell me.
yeah. Susan's one's gotta do that. 2290, go back and see if you can get it back.
How do you want for that?
You can't spend more than $3 on another elected official.
I'll buy your coffee.
Unfortunately, I can eat a lot more than $3 worth.
You're gonna starve.
It's getting close to that for coffee now.
Yeah, great.
That's true. Sorry, I can't buy your lunch.
That's all right, I'm just more than happy to.
So we're back down to number 10 again?
Yep. So we're going
I'll make a
to-
motion to approve the urban renewal report.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold and seconded by Derby to approve the urban renewal report. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Consider for approval TIP debt certification.
Okay, now that one is just for the additional, that wasn't originally in the urban renewal plan that we did with the courthouse thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve the TIP debt certification.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve the TIP debt certification. All in favor, say aye.
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 Because you have to certify TIF debt by December 1st, and those bills weren't in until December 23rd or something. So that's why.
I was, Tom signed that paperwork, Tom Randall. Is he in charge?
He does a lot of the paperwork for Dave now.
I wish I had something like that. That'd be great.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, Tom Randall did all the paperwork for Dave's bill on this.
Oh,
So there's. We'll call him the CFO.
James and this one's a CIP.
They're both brains and brawn.
Yeah.
So this is, phone number for Jay Nielsen. Chris, we'll make sure that Chris has it. It's the waste management,
Person?
person
Okay.
that, Robert Schwartz uses when he has concerns as well, so we'll just see if it's the same. But we'll give that to Chris.
Okay.
All right, anything else? And we stand adjourned.